estarem aqui hoje. Bem-vindos à terceira sessão À Pala de Walsh. Hoje vai ser com o Dogfight da Nancy Savoca. Não sei se conhecem a Nancy, depois vamos falar com a Nancy logo a seguir ao filme, por isso eu quero ser sucinta, não quero atrasar mais a sessão, mas muito rapidamente a Nancy é uma das vozes cinema independente norte-americano do final dos anos 80 e início dos anos 90, ou seja, quando o Steven Soderbergh e o Hal Hartley e o Gus Van Sant estavam a fazer cinema, ela estava a fazer cinema no Bronx. É um cinema absolutamente diferente daquilo que estamos habituados a ver, porque é um cinema que, obviamente, orçamentos muito pequeninos, ela faz muito com muito pouco, e liberta-se completamente das típicas linhas de história hollywoodianas e do mundo, de certa forma, dominado pelos homens. E neste caso o filme é um filme de estúdio, portanto é um filme independente, mas é um filme de estúdio da Warner Brothers. Porquê programá-lo? Bem, eu vi este filme em resultado de um restauro que houve feito pela Criterion em 2024, um magnífico Blu-ray, aqueles objetos para sempre, que eu, com sorte, consegui que viesse ter à minha mão, e vi este filme que eu nunca tinha visto, e é um filme bastante ambíguo, como são todas as relações humanas, não é? Toda a maneira como nós nos comportamos, e eu acho que cada vez mais é preciso essa análise e esse examinar, e então comecei a falar do filme aos amigos e à família, queria muito mostrá-lo, e queria mais do que tudo vê-lo na sala, e apercebi-me que ele nunca tinha estreado. Aliás, penso que nenhum filme dela teve estreia comercial em Portugal, então aqui está, e quero agradecer à sala e à Cátia Souza por ser tão magnífica e nos permitir fazer isto hoje. E fiquem connosco, porque a seguir vamos falar com a Nancy, há muita coisa para dizer. Obrigada, até já. Boa sessão.
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me? Hi.
Hi, Susana.
Hi, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Well, in your case, it's afternoon still.
It's early evening,
Okay.
but so nice. Thank you so much for having me and for projecting a movie I love very much. Thank you.
No, thank you. I discovered your film in 2024 because of the restoration, and I've been enchanted by it ever since. So, this is a dream for me to be able to kind of program your film and talk to you. Thank you so much.
I just want to say, I wish I could do this interview in Portuguese because I love the language. I speak Spanish, but not Portuguese, so I'm sorry.
No,
but I wish...
It's okay. I'm completely comfortable doing it in English. Actually, sometimes it's actually easier because Portuguese is a difficult language. It's quite nice that you're saying that you like it, because
I love it. I used to tell my mom when I was little that I need to speak Portuguese. I don't know why. So a past life, I think.
Maybe the sort of Italian ancestry.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, we just watched the film, and I'd like to maybe, go back in time and kind of ask you. So you just won the Grand Jury Prize with your first film, True Love. And this screenplay from Bob Comfort's screenplay kind of comes to you. What first attracted you to it? Because it's a very different film from your first one.
Yes, and I think it was kind of strange when I look back on it. I think my brain did not register the subject matter, because if I had registered deeply what that movie was about, I don't think I would have done it. So I came about like a funny way. I just went, oh, this is a good era to talk about. The early 60s is so interesting to me in the history of the United States. My family was newly arrived at that time. They immigrated from Argentina, so it was a very kind of time that I had heard was important to everyone. And I loved the characters very much. I loved both of them because they were both flawed people. They weren't perfect people. And I wanted to spend time with them. But then, as time went by, I'm like, oh gosh, what am I doing? This is going to be really hard. But like I said, I said yes before I thought too much.
Because it is, I understand you, it is a film about a female objectification. It's a film about toxic masculinity. It's in a way, can we say it's a film about cruelty?
Oh, that was the first word that came. Once I defined it for myself, I'm like, holy cow, this is cruelty. This is the worst kind of cruelty you can put another human being through, well, not the worst, but up there, But it was illuminating for me, and I learned so much from the experience of just researching it and thinking about it. That, I come from a working class family. I come from a neighborhood the Bronx, the South Bronx, which was dangerous and had a lot of troubles and drug problems and poverty problems when I was growing up. So, cruelty and discomfort and all that, it wasn't new to me, but I never processed it. It just, things would keep happening and you'd go boom, 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 life was hard. But to put it on film, then you're forced to, as a filmmaker, really look at it. And I think subconsciously I wanted to do that. But on the surface, I just said yes.
It's a risky move. And it was your first studio film, right?
Yes.
How was that?
Yes.
Because we can feel that it's a film that you made on your own terms, and by which I mean, none of your films really lend themselves to kind of categorization, which I love because I can't really explain. It's not a love story, but it is a love story, and it's so much more than that. So how was it working with the studio? At first, I think they were very relieved that I said yes, because it had gone through, I don't remember how many other directors, all men, that to try and get it made. And they had River Phoenix already on the movie. And they wanted to just get it done because they had already committed to making it. So finally, when I came and said yes, and River interviewed me, basically, we spoke on the phone and he approved. He was 19, God bless him. He was the coolest, smartest young actor. So after our conversation, he said yes. And I think they were just happy at that point to get it made. And then once it started happening, it wasn't even during the filming. During the filming, we were on an exploration, which is very unusual for these studio films. Instead of filming the script, we were exploring the script and revising the script and working with it. Bob Comfort did a wonderful job writing about his experience, but we felt that the Rose character was underdeveloped. Okay. So we were trying to bring her out, because by developing her more, we actually complicated him. Because if he just goes with a girl who's just, ugly but can be pretty, that doesn't make him a complicated person. Yeah. But if she's someone who's evolving in front of his eyes, and he's able to see that he's a complicated person, and she is too, and that's what makes it complicated. This was all work we were doing with the screenplay. So when we finished it and presented it to the studio, they kind of liked it, but then we tested it with an audience. And that was where the nightmare began, because the audience hated the movie, hated the movie. And then they were the executives were trying to figure out how to fix it. Why did they want sort of more, easy to relate to, less ambiguous?
Yeah, I think what's interesting about independent film, especially I think in the United States, where we have different audiences that are clearly cut apart, like this goes to this audience, this goes to this audience. Here, if you're going to take a movie that has an independent point of view, you need to present it to the audience with a poster that looks like the movie, with a trailer. You need to introduce the movie to the audience. And when they test a movie, they don't introduce the movie to the audience. They just throw it at the audience. And the audience catches it and goes, "What is this thing you gave me?" And that's pretty much what they said. They said, "We heard it was going to be a funny movie about these guys taking a girl to a ugly date contest and ugly girls, and we thought it was going to be funny, funny, funny." Well, that's not the movie. So they were disappointed.
Wow, I didn't know that. Actually, you were saying before, this is based on Bob Comfort's own experience as a Marine.
Yes.
I first thought it was a kind of novel or some sort of memoir, but it's not. It was just him.
He was a screenwriter. Bob Comfort was a screenwriter in Hollywood, and he, like many people in Hollywood, you get a little bit tired of the formulas and what they ask you to do, and so he took some time to write of experiences he had had as a soldier, and that miraculously ended up with Warner Brothers, which is unusual, unexpected. But yeah, so that was his story, and I got to meet him, and he talked about his situation, and we tried to work with him to, as we saw that we wanted to change some things with Lily Taylor now, and he was just very tired at that point and told me pretty much, "You do what you need to do as the director. I've done what I could." So we pretty much took it, and then paying attention to River and Lily and what they were like together and their chemistry together, I kept adjusting to what they were bringing to me.
Yeah, because they're very young too. I mean, when I first watched the film, I thought, wow, so they're transforming along with the actors. So the characters along with the actors, because they're very young.
This is a movie that's really popular in colleges here, because it's of that age when you're in your early 20s or late teens, which is how old the actors were. You're very vulnerable because you're leaving behind this kind of hormonal, rebellious teenage, and you're actually seeing your future and have to step into it. And so you're in between, and it's a very vulnerable time. So, and that vulnerability, I think, was one of the problems that one of my friends was saying, maybe that's one of the problems the audience had with the movie, is if they were a young audience, maybe they wanted to see more of themselves as heroes and bigger than life and strong and funny and not so vulnerable, because that's the opposite of heroic, is vulnerability. And we were more kind of reacting to the truth of that time. But yeah.
And it's a wonderful time to portray. I mean, we begin just before the death of Kennedy.
Yes, of Kennedy, yeah. And it was historically everyone is in the in-between. The country was sort of on the verge of something. Yeah. Birdlace's character, River Phoenix, is on the verge of something, of the war. She's on the verge of something, becoming who she wants to be. So everyone is kind of, and yet they meet for a little bit of time to kind of change each other a little bit, but not change each other fantastically big, a little bit, so that they leave, I feel like they leave uncomfortable. If they thought they knew something early in the movie, by the end of the movie, they don't know that much. You know, they're not as sure of their beliefs. They're not as because they met someone who is the opposite of them.
Yeah. And she's, I mean, I saw her completely as a catalyst for him, for his change. You know, she's trying to bring this sort of humanity that he's chosen to reject and kind of ignore.
Yes, and so because of that, that was already built in the role. Then we felt our job was to take her and add so that she also has her learning. And for me, her learning at the end comes without words, which is the look on her face when she's hugging him. Is not the look of someone who is sure of what she's going to do or how she's going to be. You know, in her mind, maybe she wanted to be, oh, I will help someone. I will help change someone. I will bring peace to the soldier. I will do. She has ideas, but in the end, she's holding this broken person, and she's not sure that she's capable of anything, you know. So that is, I feel, you know, like one of the way we feel sometimes when we're left with an experience that changes us some, that we're not exactly sure how we feel anymore. If we were sure yesterday, we're not sure today.
That's why I like that scene when he's running, because it kind of feels like a mixture of this, you know, a very happy moment that he's going to carry throughout time with him. And it was only a few hours, like you said, but at the same time, he's going off to a place that he knows nothing about, and there's this dread. But I was reading while researching, and I don't know if this is true, but I found out that apparently it wasn't really scripted, him running.
No.
So someone just said, continue to run.
It was the last day of our filming, because, you know, you always shoot out of order, and we were shooting in San Francisco just for a few days because most of the movie was shot in a different city, in Seattle, because we could not afford to be in San Francisco all the time. So we shot just like 3 days in San Francisco. And when we were at the last day of shooting, it was like 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, I can't remember anymore. We had shot all night. And we were done. We had done a scene where they were walking in downtown San Francisco. We were just filming them walking through the city. And that was it. That was the last shot. So everyone, that's a wrap, as you say in film. That's a wrap. We're done. We're finished. Everyone applauding. People are crying. We're hugging each other. The technicians, the crew, everything. Lily, River, everyone hugging each other and crying. And then one of our gaffers, lighting guys, was putting away equipment by a truck, and he looked up the street, and there was the Bay Bridge, San Francisco famous Bay Bridge, with the sun coming up. And he turned around and he told my cinematographer, this is an incredible shot. So my cinematographer comes running to me, Bobby Bukowski, and he goes, Nancy, there's a beautiful shot. And he goes, and it's down that street. And I go, and he drags me over because the sun is going to come up, so we got to go fast. And he said, can we shoot it? Can we shoot it? I said, yes. And he goes, what are we shooting? And I said, River, go run down that street. Walk down that street. And he was walking, and then in the middle of him walking, we're rolling the camera, and I'm thinking, what am I doing this for? I don't know why. Where am I using this? And then I realized it was when he leaves Rose to go back to his friends. And I'm like, that's when I realized he's got to run. He's got to run away from her and from this situation and from any feelings of love or anything he's feeling, because it's not going to serve him in Vietnam. None of these feelings are going to. So that's when I started yelling at him in that 4 a.m, run, River, run, which had everybody laughing. And he had no idea why he was running, but because he's such a good actor, he just ran. So that's the technical reason for it.
That's the beauty of cinema. I intellectualized it in a way.
Yeah,
it's
and then, but the beauty, right? Exactly, the beauty and the magic. Because in the editing room, when we sat with my editor John Tintori and we we took that shot and we put it right there in between the shot that comes before and after. We just went, oh, goosebumps. We got goosebumps. This works, you know.
Well, let me see. I do have to ask you about the restoration. How was it? Was it you that initiated it? Was it Criterion? I know that with your third film, it was a more difficult process. It was different.
Yes. With the third film, we had lost the movie, and then we found it. So it was a whole story. It was very dramatic with the third film. But with this film, it was a gift, because in the middle of restoring the third film, this was my second film, in the middle of our big restoration, which was quite difficult and whatever, we just heard that this movie was going to be restored by Warner Brothers, and Criterion wanted to release it, and we were just thrilled. It was like a gift. We just opened up our hands and it fell into our hands.
And now the film sort of has a second life with new audiences.
I love it. Yes, I'm thrilled. I love to hear that people are seeing it. I love it.
Do you see it differently now than when you showed it back in 91, 92?
I'm trying to remember at what point I realized, because it was such a emotional film with all, with the difficult subject matter, that I think it was close to the end that I realized that this movie was about cruelty, but also about how the only way we can train soldiers to do the ultimate work of destroying a country, a people, a place, is by training them in cruelty so that they can dehumanize. So what started off being men behaving badly with women took on that plus more. And on a bigger level is how we can dehumanize how any one of us can dehumanize any one of us in order to be able to have cruelty. If the group that we don't agree with doesn't think or look like us, then we can say all kinds of things and do all kinds of things, and it's okay because they're not like us.
And we're living in a very polarizing time.
And here we are again. So seeing this movie to me today brings that up again.
Would you say it's a kind of also a commentary on America and, sort of this pro-war sentiment?
Yeah, a power. Any country that has power, that feels to be in a position of power, so that it's that number one feeling for me is just our greatest strength, our greatest power in this country, which I love because my parents immigrated here and I could see how it helped them. The greatest power this country has are its people, including its immigrants. All the people that come from outside who come here have made it so strong.
Of course. So it's, when we start dividing and saying, not this country, not that culture, not this thing, I think, that's the weakening of a system. That's the weakening. One of the greatest things I feel like I've had, I say I did not grow up wealthy, but I grew up culturally very wealthy. Very wealthy. I had people from all over the world in my neighborhood, which I don't think that's something that's very common. So as I get older, that's what I realize. That's where my wealth is. And that's where a lot of the way I do things is very influenced by the fact that I grew up with people that were so different from me. And I was always made to see that I might think one way, but there's always another way to look at it. Yeah. I think your film reflects that very beautifully. Really does.
Oh, thank you.
I think I'm going to open up to questions. Any comments? Yeah?
Hi, Nancy.
Hi.
Just wanted to quickly congratulate you on the movie, obviously. Just to
Thank
quickly echo what Susana was saying, it's really thrilling to see characters develop in such a raw and like in real time, and to allow them, like the movie allows them to be just very contradictory and reveal themselves to one another, and that's like the real richness of life, getting to be known with all the, all the contradictions. I have one slight curiosity. You mentioned that the movie was was screened to test audiences, and we've heard of like multiple cases over the history of films that get absolutely torn to shreds, and stuff gets lost in the cutting floor. So, was there any changes to the movie after those the negative feedback, or no? Was it kept unchanged?
That's a story. That's a little story. Thank you for asking that question, because it is very much a story that's typical of these situations. So it tested really badly, and then began the pressure from the studios, from their point of view. If I have to, try to be empathetic and say their point of view, they invested money in this. They wanted it to be out and be successful, but unfortunately, just the screenplay, to begin with, even before I touched it, was unusual, and they greenlit an unusual movie, and they put it in a slot of comedy. Like, I don't know if you guys know, but there was a movie from the 80s called Porky's. They were like these teen comedies that were very raunchy and very whatever, and so they were saying, oh, this is like that, and that's what the audience who came to see it was expecting. And when I went to that screening, and I sat in the back, and before the movie came up, there were a group of young teenage guys sitting in front. Right, they went straight. They got their tickets and they went straight to the front, in front of the screen, and they started saying, "Dog fight, dog fight, dog fight." And then I knew we were in trouble because we weren't going to give them what they wanted. And I just was like, oh my God, like almost crying. And when I could feel it, I watched the movie with them. It was masochistic of me to do this, but I sat in the room and I could feel the reaction in the room. And when it stopped being funny, like in the beginning, it was kind of, they were laughing really hard. But when it kind of came to Rose, like going crazy, like walking out of the dogfight, the movie changes and the tone changes, and that's where we lost them. And so the studio said, we have to figure out how to fix this. And I said, I don't think you can fix this because it's not a comedy all the way through. Half the movie is not. And so it got to the point where one day I got a phone call. I said, I don't know how to fix it. I really don't. But if you think you can fix it, they hired me. So, And one day I got a phone call from River, and he said, Nancy, are you going to be at the reshoot for the ending of the movie? And I said, the reshoot for the ending? They're reshooting the ending? He goes, yeah. They've asked me to show up. They've written a new scene, and they're going to end the movie differently. And I said, no, I've not been invited to the reshoot of the movie. So they were going to have another director reshoot the ending. And then, but River, 19 years old, said to me, if you're not going to be there, I'm not going to be there. And they could reshoot without me, but they couldn't reshoot without him. And so, thanks to River, the movie is the movie you saw. Wow. Because it would have been changed. And really, there's nothing I could have done about it. So he saved the movie to keep it that way.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Thank you, Nancy, and thank you, River.
Thank you.
Also.
Thanks.
Any more questions? No?
Hi, Nancy. Loved your movie. And I have a curiosity about one scene in particular that I think it's going to stay with me for a long time. The music shop scene where the little toys are singing and playing. how was the directing of that scene? Because they are so clumsy in that scene, and it's so beautiful. Do you have any idea how they reacted? What was the direction of that scene? I really loved it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for saying that. I agree with you that they did really beautiful work when you think that they were, I think Lily was 20 years old and he was 19. So they were like these young, brand new actors. He had been working since he was a child, but still this really was the first role he did as an adult. So it was new for both of them. I think what you saw in that scene had its roots in our time together and the preparation we did, but unusual roots because I had just come from doing my first film where I had all these I had a lot of actors in my first film, and I used to put them together to rehearse and improvise and all this stuff, and I thought I was going to do the same thing because I was a new director. And then when I tried to rehearse with River and Lily, they couldn't connect with each other. The rehearsal was the most uncomfortable meeting I ever had. I brought in River, I brought in Lily. River's hair was long at that time. He covered his face. He didn't look at us. Lily didn't want to talk to him because he wasn't talking to her. So I sat with them for 40 minutes saying, how's the weather outside? I had nothing. Well, I didn't know what to talk about. I was ready to talk about character and script and story. But what I learned is I went home very depressed, and my husband, who was the producer, said to me, well, that's interesting, Nancy, because they don't know each other in this movie. So maybe they didn't want to know each other in rehearsal. And maybe your job is to film them discovering each other. And that was a very wise thing to say. It made me feel a lot better. And I know what to do with that. So when we started filming, then from that point on, I never tried to get them together for any rehearsal. I went out with her, I spoke to her, and then separately I went with him, spoke to him. We sent him to boot camp with his friends. We hired a military advisor, and they trained them to be Marines in 1 week. Usually it's 6 weeks. We did 1 week of camp, sent them away, and they were together. And so they came out of that very close. He got to know his male friends, because that's what he needed to do in this movie, is know the guys. He did not need to know her. He needed to discover her. So that's how I just kept them separate from that point on. And I think all that stuff became the love scene. Then we can bring them together because they were separate.
Anyone else? Well, I can't let you go because I have just one more question, and I have to ask it about the ending. So about the ending, when I first saw the film, so a while back, I saw it as him coming back. But then even though I had to write a piece about the film and kind of the contextualization of it, so I was analyzing it, and maybe I was seeing things that aren't there, which is a good thing, I think. But I kind of saw it as, him that not being real, and kind of she being a memory of him, a memory of his in his head. He's traveling in time, and he's going to that one place where he knows he'll find her. So I was wondering if there could be any sort of, if this is mad for me to.
Oh my God! I think one of the reasons why I make movies is this dialogue with people who watch films, because I'm also a film fan. I make films, but I also watch them and love them. And I interact with movies just like you just said there, what you did. So I think what you're saying is very valid. I don't think there is a right answer or a wrong answer. I think what happens is we bring ourselves in the best situation. Some movies will ask you to engage with them like this. And in the best situation, when you find a movie like that, you dialogue with it, and you can have interpretations, and you can do things. And if we interviewed everyone in the audience, I hope that different people would see different things, and we'll put the emphasis on different moments, because you bring yourself to a movie, a song, a book, a painting. We bring ourselves, you know, and that's what's exciting, especially if you're doing this in a community like you're doing it now live. I think it's also even more exciting because you're in that room and all of you felt each other and how you responded. And that to me is also really part of why I love this world for this.
That's why I wanted to program it, really. Thank you so much. It's been an honor. I hope we can do this again in some other time.
That would be my honor. That would be wonderful. I'd love it.
Thank you
Thank you so much. Thank you all. Thank you, Susana. Thank you. Have a good evening. It's late. You can go.
Thank you. You too. You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.